there were certain things in my mind that they just wouldn't go away. And I think that started a process where I really kind of began to genuinely seek. And I was looking for the truth. And I'll be honest, I wanted it to be anything other than Jesus. My life actually can be broken into really, I think, three very distinct phases. The first phase was from birth up until about 19 years of age. I really believed what I was told. I wasn't raised in a Christian home per se because my parents were divorced, but my dad was a believer, and so although my mom was not, because my dad wasn't in the home, that was a way that I could kind of share something special that just he and I had, and a bond that could kind of bind us together. And so I believed very much, wholeheartedly. I would have called myself a Christian at that time, at least in the principles. But much like your guys' story, my life didn't match it at all. Like I could hold all the positions, I would argue for them. Even the things at that time that were countercultural, I was okay with taking a strong stance. However, it made no difference at all in my life. I still absolutely loved sin. I viewed everything that God told me to do as really just kind of making me jump through hoops. And if I jumped through enough hoops, then I figured God would praise me for being, better than other people who didn't jump through the same hoops. And so I was through and through a Pharisee, someone who thought that the outside of my cup was clean while the inside was just rotten and vile. And really anybody else that would have known me, they knew I was, I was rotten too. I mean, I was a jerk to everybody and filled with anger. And again, the older I get, the more I realize I was just very angry about my parents' divorce and other home things. But so then that shifted to the second phase pretty radically when my dad died when I was 19 years old, and he died of cancer. It really shook my world to a way I didn't know what was up or down or left or right. I mean, I was completely lost, and I remember taking all of that. I'll put it in quotes, faith that I had from the first part of my life. And that all turned to hostility towards Christianity in particular, because my dad claimed to believe in Jesus. I claimed to believe in Christianity. And then here my dad dies at the age of 43 of cancer, even though he didn't smoke or he didn't cuss or drive fast. And I thought that if there was a God running the world, that he was just doing a real crummy job at it. Like I thought anybody could do better than him. Got these, murderers and thieves and liars and everybody else that's out there doing just fine. And my dad died for some reason that didn't make any sense. And so in that phase of life, I really began to believe what I wanted to believe. And so I was searching for things, young, angry, in many ways, foolish, but kind of thought you go to college, you think all sorts of stuff. So studying in the philosophy department at the University of Michigan, I latched on to some ideas from Buddhism and Hinduism, and kind of was my own eclectic blend of these things. I thought my dad was maybe reincarnated off to bigger and better things. And I really delighted to kind of argue with any Christian I could find. There were Christian groups on campus that would try and give out free pizza and talk to people about the Bible and Jesus. And I really enjoyed trying to eat their free pizza and tell them how stupid I thought that they were and try and change their minds. And I got engaged during that phase of life to a young lady that is I'm still married to now. And we're coming up on, I think we'll be celebrating 18 years of marriage coming up here this next anniversary. And I was not a believer at the time. She was, and she came under conviction actually by one of her Christian coworkers that she had agreed to marry a non-Christian man, which is a terrible idea. So don't, nobody should agree to that. She came under conviction. She started inviting me to church. And even though I was hostile towards Christianity, it's amazing what a guy who's engaged to a girl will do. I figured I would probably put my foot down and stop going to church as soon as we were actually married. But leading up to it, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go to church. So we'd go to church, and we actually went down closer to your neck of the woods, Eric. We were attending a church down there, and I would make fun of the pastor's sermon the whole ride back home. We had like a 45-minute drive each way. So we drive down 40 minutes. I'd listen to him for 30 minutes. And then for 45 minutes, I'd talk about how dumb he was and try and, again, convince my wife that, or at the time, fiance, that Christianity was stupid. And then my dad's widow actually came out to meet this girl that I was going to get married to. I think it was my birthday, maybe. We were going out to dinner. And I was trying to tell her how dumb I thought she was for still believing in Jesus. And she told me the gospel just very, very directly. And it wasn't the first time I heard the gospel, but she said some things to me that really stuck. And she left that conversation thinking she was talking to the most stubborn person she's ever met, which in many ways was very true. She thought that the conversation went terribly. Certainly nobody would write a book about that witnessing encounter. There were many, many things that went poorly. But there were certain things in my mind that they just wouldn't go away. And I think that started a process where I really kind of began to genuinely seek. And I was looking for the truth. And I'll be honest, I wanted it to be anything other than Jesus. Because I was so angry and so hostile towards Christianity. But like you guys expressed, I had at least some thought that there was something out there. There was some kind of a God out there. And whatever it wanted from me, I was willing to do. I just really, really, fingers crossed, don't be Jesus, anything but Jesus. And as it turns out, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father but through him. And so I had come home from a party. I was drunk and high, and I was standing outside of my apartment in the middle of this terrible rainstorm, smoking a cigarette, looking at the sky. And then, this lightning bolt went off, didn't hit me or something, but, just across the sky. And I came under conviction so bad that I was wrong. I was particularly convicted, although I was incredibly sinful at the time. Just engaged in so many sinful activities, but I became particularly convicted of my blasphemy because I had been going around constantly saying things about Jesus that weren't true, things that I thought to be true because I thought that I knew things about him because I had been around the church for the first 19 years of my life. But I realized that Jesus was exactly who he claimed to be. And I also realized that I had no idea who he was. And so that really entered into the third phase where I believed the truth of the gospel. And so I set out from that point on to study the Word of God. I got a New Testament handed to me by a Gideon on campus. I read that a bunch of times and bought a real Bible. It was a real Bible, but a full Bible, Old and New Testament. Started reading that. Started buying every systematic theology I could. Bookstores existed back then. This is back before Amazon. So I used to go to bookstores and buy, buy actual hardcover books at a real store. And I would read a lot of those. I realized some of them were good. Some of them were junk, and ended up going to seminary. And I guess the rest is, as we say, history. So I've been walking with the Lord since I was 21. So about 19 years now. So about half my life, not a believer, in this last half as a believer. So that's my story. But my conversion, unlike your guys, was a little bit more, I'm not going to say dramatic. Anytime someone comes from death to life, that's the same drama, but more punctuated. There was more of an event. Like there was a moment when I know that's when I became born again. So that's my story. Hey, thanks for watching this clip of the Exalted Christ's One Accord podcast. If you like what you've seen here, click here to catch the full episode, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of our future content.